You're sitting in a chair right now, alive, reading this sentence. Somewhere else in the world, someone just died exactly 1 minute ago. Their heart has already stopped. Their brain doesn't know it yet. And what happens to them over the next 72 hours is happening to all of us eventually, just on a schedule none of us can see. Most people picture death as a single moment. The heart stops, and that's it, lights out, story over. But that's not what actually happens. Death isn't an event, it's a process. And it's a process your body is remarkably bad at finishing quickly. Let's start at the very beginning. Second 0. The heart stops. Within the first few seconds, blood stops circulating. No more oxygen delivery anywhere in the body. But here's the part almost nobody knows. Your cells don't get a memo. They keep running on whatever fuel they already have stored, like a phone switched to airplane mode that still has battery left. The brain is the most oxygen-hungry organ in the body, and it's also the first to start failing. Neurons begin running out of energy within seconds. Consciousness, by most clinical estimates, fades somewhere between 10 and 20 seconds after the heart stops. Not instantly, not even immediately. There's a window, brief but real, where the brain is still trying to keep the lights on with no power coming in. At around the 1 minute mark, something stranger happens. Some researchers studying brain activity at the moment of death have recorded a final, intense burst of electrical signaling, almost like the brain throwing everything it has at the problem before giving up. Scientists don't fully agree on what this surge means subjectively, if it means anything at all. But it's there in the data, a last spike of activity in a brain that, by every external measure, has already stopped. Hearing, according to several studies on dying patients, may be one of the last senses to go, which raises an uncomfortable possibility. In those final seconds, a person might still be able to register sound in the room around them, even after they can no longer respond to it. By 4 to 6 minutes without oxygen, brain cells begin sustaining damage that can't be undone. This is the rough boundary doctors use when deciding how long resuscitation can realistically restore a functioning person. Past this point, even if the heart restarts, the brain that comes back isn't guaranteed to be the same one that left. But here's the thing that breaks most people's mental model of death. While the brain is shutting down, plenty of the rest of the body is still very much alive. Skin cells, cells lining the gut, cells in connective tissue. These don't depend on a constant, immediate oxygen supplies the way neurons do, and they can keep functioning, dividing, doing their small individual jobs for hours after a person is legally and medically dead. Hair and nails don't actually keep growing after death, despite the popular myth. What happens is the skin dehydrates and retracts slightly, making hair and nails look longer by comparison. But other cells genuinely are still working, quietly, with no awareness that the organism they belong to no longer exists as a person. Somewhere around 1 to 3 hours after death, the body starts to cool. This is called rigor mortis, and it happens at a fairly predictable rate, roughly 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit per hour, until the body matches the temperature of its surroundings. Forensic investigators use this almost like a clock, working backward from body temperature, to estimate time of death with surprising precision. At around the same time, gravity starts doing something else. Blood, no longer being pumped, begins to settle into the lowest points of the body, pooling under the skin and creating dark, bruise-like patches called rigor mortis. Whatever position the body is in when blood stops circulating, that's roughly the map gravity will draw. Then, somewhere between 2 and 6 hours, the muscles begin to stiffen. This is rigor mortis, and it happens because cells run out of a molecule called ATP, which muscles need to release a contraction, not just create one. Without it, muscle fibers lock in place. The stiffness spreads through the body in a fairly predictable order, and usually peaks around 12 hours, holding for about a day before it fades again, as tissue starts to break down from the inside. And this is where the process becomes less mechanical and more biological, because the body isn't just shutting down. Something else is starting up. Bacteria that lived peacefully inside the gut for an entire lifetime, kept in check by a functioning immune system, are suddenly unsupervised. With nothing left stopping them, they begin digesting the body from the inside, the same way they once helped digest food. Within about 24 to 72 hours, this process produces gases, the same kind of bacterial activity that causes bloating in a living gut. Except now, there's no system left to regulate it. The body swells, skin discolors as blood breaks down. The chemical signature of decomposition becomes detectable, which is precisely why search dogs and forensic teams can locate remains even when there's nothing visible to see. From an evolutionary standpoint, none of this is a malfunction. It's the same recycling system every living thing eventually returns to. The atoms that were briefly arranged into a person get reabsorbed, redistributed, and used again by insects, by soil, by the next generation of plants growing in that soil. Nothing is wasted. It's just no longer arranged as you. Here's the part that's hard to sit with. For most of that 72-hour window, a person looks to anyone observing completely finished. But cellularly, biologically, parts of the process are still very much in motion. Death, it turns out, isn't a door that closes all at once. It's more like a building losing power floor by floor, with a few lights flickering on in empty rooms, long after everyone important has already left. So, If you go back to that person from the start of this video, the one who died exactly 1 minute ago, while you were reading a sentence, here's where they actually are right now. Their brain has likely gone dark, but maybe not entirely, not yet. Their skin cells are still working a job nobody told them got cancelled. Their body hasn't started cooling in any way you could detect with your hand. To anyone in the room, it already looks like the story is over. It isn't. Not for another 3 days. And the strange part is that none of this happens to someone else. It happens to every person who has ever lived, and it will happen eventually, in some room, on some ordinary day that doesn't feel any different from this one until it is. The only real question is whether you'll spend the time you have before that moment the way you've been spending it, or differently, now that you understand what's actually waiting on the other side of it. I'll see you in the next one.